Siomra Beag.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to On Siomra Beag. Welcome back to the tiny digital room. I am the Michael of the podcast, Michael and Benjamin's podcast, and I am joined by the only man for whom a year spent in isolation on Mars would be less lonely than his current existence. It's Benjamin.
Oh, that was so grim. Hi. This is literally my only contact with the outside world. This is it.
Yes. This is ground control to Major Ben. How are you going?
Look, it's a bit grim up here, lads. I generally wear selected Hom jeans in case the papers want to know whose shirts I wear. So I wear selected Hom jeans and usually a nice penny shirt.
A nice penny shirt. Yeah. This podcast isn't sponsored this week, Ben.
No, it isn't. It's never sponsored, Michael.
No, never.
But if you or anyone you know would like to sponsor the podcast, we're honestly, with just sponsor us. It's grand. It doesn't matter what you sell. Look, let us know. There's loads of different ones. There's bloody Manscaping. They're a big company at the minute. They could sponsor us. Keeps, the anti-male hair loss company. They could give us an L.
What are you saying?
Give us an L shout.
Both of those seem directly aimed at me, Ben. I don't know what you're saying here.
There's also the Be a Better Co-host lads, consulting service.
Oh, that's mean. That's cruel. Benjamin, people aren't here for the banter, Ben. They're here for the theme music.
Oh, are they? Well, it sounds like this.
Theme music for the podcast. We don't actually have any theme music.
Very good. They're not. People often complain about the theme music. Benjamin, What's going on out there in the greater solar system?
There's not a whole lot going on, Michael, but there's a little combo, a kind of a nexus, if you will, Michael, between my interests and yours. There's a new little teaser trailer dropped this week for a new series on Netflix, and it's called The Irregulars, Michael, and it's in reference to the famous Baker Street Irregulars from Victorian myth and Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes. Yeah.
But, Michael, I'm sure you've asked yourself many times, but what if, Michael, the Baker Street Irregulars were just a crew of supernatural hunters out to save London from an eldritch horror?
Oh, I think I've seen that.
Yeah.
Have they not done that before?
They probably have, Michael. I nothing's original anymore, Michael. Everything is cyclical, and we're just going through phases of different content at this point.
Isn't that Penny Dreadful?
It is Penny Dreadful. You're right, Michael. You're right.
It's the show Penny Dreadful. Does it have Vanessa Ives in it?
I hope so.
Hello, I'm Vanessa Ives.
I hope so. Vanessa Ives is easily one of my favourite fictional demonic things.
Hello, I'm very sexy, but very also evil.
Also unnerving. And unnerving and sexy is what I'm into, Michael.
That's what you're into, Ben.
That's
what you're into. Yeah. The more uncomfortable you are, the bigger the horn. Sometimes, Ben, I wonder, should we just do this off the cuff, or should we write it down a little bit? Because one of the problems with doing things off the cuff is sometimes you back yourself into a corner and you have to say something like that.
That's the worst joke you've ever made on this.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's kind of my point.
Oh.
All right, so anyway, the Baker Street Irregulars.
Yes, the Baker Street
Who's
Irregulars.
giving them the horn, Ben?
Demons.
Demons.
And basically, the Baker Street Irregulars are a little crew that Sherlock Holmes uses, a little network of street urchins, Michael, that Sherlock Holmes uses for information collecting purposes. Now, Sherlock Holmes doesn't seem to be in this. We've received two pieces of news. One is the teaser trailer. Overall, kind of giving you and a little mini scene between who seems to be John Watson and a girl that he's trying to recruit into the Irregulars. Now, the implication, Michael, is that Sherlock Holmes isn't around. So has he been kidnapped by the Eldritches? Has he been murdered by the Eldritches? Or, Michael, is he possessed by the Eldritches?
Is he in on it, Ben? Is he in on it?
Sherlock Holmes turned to the side of the demons.
Benjamin, is this an American or a British production?
It seems to be a British production, Michael. Everybody has a nice British accent. I'm sure there's going to be...
Good.
It's very...
Ives.
Very diverse crew, Michael. I'm sure Reddit is about to bristle with hatred because John Watson is played by a young black man.
Oh, they won't like that on the
They
Reddit,
won't
Ben.
like that, Michael. They won't like that. So
Well, you know what
I'm-
I say, Ben. Good enough for them.
It'll be grand. So that was one little bit of news, Michael, is that we have Eldritch horrors all over the place in London and in London town, and they're going to take it out.
Look, Ben, we'll probably give it a watch, but sometimes with shows, we say we're going to give it a watch, and then we forget to give it a watch. I forgot to watch The Stand. Did you watch any of The Stand?
Didn't watch any of The Stand, Michael.
I forgot to watch it, Ben.
None of The Stand have I watched.
We did a whole episode about it, Ben, and then completely forgot to watch it.
We've never watched The Stand.
Not even a minute of it.
Not 1 second of The
Even
Stand
though-
have I watched.
My understanding is Stellan Skarsgård's son gets in the nude.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah,
That's what I look for in a Stephen King adaptation, Michael.
Yeah, if one of the Skarsgårds are going to be in the nude.
I was bitterly disappointed by it.
Yeah, because
He keeps his weird cloud costume on all the time.
the whole time, except when he's other things. Benjamin,
Yes.
there's been another trailer for this year's least exciting project,
Go on.
Zack Snyder's Justice Box.
Got
Have
him.
you seen it?
Got him. Well done. I haven't,
I got
Michael.
him. I've nailed
I've
him.
already lost interest in Zack Snyder's Justice Box.
So I'm calling it Justice Box, Ben, because the latest trailer is a 1.5-minute trailer of the mother boxes floating around in a kind of grey smoke,
Oh, yeah.
depicting scenes of all of your favourite heroes who are in this, while Tom Waits' song Time plays in the background.
Oh, wow. Well, you know, Tom Waits played such a crucial role in the Justice League film, and the mother boxes are everybody's favourite part of the DC cinematic
Everybody's favourite part. Everybody loved the mother boxes. They were like, if only there was more 90 seconds of the mother boxes slowly revolving while a slow-paced dramatic song played, then we'd know this was a Zack Snyder project.
Yeah, so it's nice that Zack Snyder is giving them the time that fans want them to have. You know, that's great. That's great.
Zack Snyder really is a self-parody, isn't he? I mean, well, we say that. We don't know how much input Zack Snyder had in this silly trailer.
I mean, it's probably a marketing move. I feel like Zack Snyder's the kind of guy who Michael, not to do you a disservice, but the level of enthusiasm that you have for different projects is probably comparable to what Zack Snyder can feel. The only difference is Zack Snyder
Yes.
is then given a budget with which to attain and use
Yes.
his enthusiasm. And I think more's to the shame of the universe that we don't get to see more of your ideas brought to fruition, Michael, through your
Yes.
sheer unbridled enthusiasm and
Yes.
wild vision boards that you
Yes,
keep.
wild. You should see them.
But unfortunately, someone has seen fit to give Zack Snyder a budget, and so we have to look at his vision boards all the fucking time.
I like Zack Snyder, Ben, and I'm gonna defend him because you're a son of a bitch. But I liked Watchmen. I really liked Watchmen. It's a great film, and it is aging incredibly well. Mm-hmm. So I challenge you to go back and watch Watchmen again, and you'll say, "Wow, that was ahead of its time. They really did a good job there."
Yeah,
It's a very good film.
it is. Yeah, no, it's
the
great.
the only criticism I have about the film Watchmen by Zachary Snyder is that Ozymandias is too obviously the baddie.
Yeah, well, I mean, he telegraphs it from about 18 miles out.
He's like, "Hello, I'm Matthew Poole. Is that my name? I'm the baddie."
yeah, noted Irish actor.
I've forgotten his name.
Ozymandias. I can't
Yeah.
remember. We did an episode on him. It's back there
Yeah.
in the archives. Michael, did you call him Snack Schneider there a second ago?
No, I didn't, but we can if you want.
Because he's
We
a
can run
tasty
with
little
that.
treat and you quite enjoy his work.
Yeah, he's a snack. He's
Snack
a tasty
Schneider.
snack. Snacky Snyder.
Look at you getting down with the kids lingo. What a snack.
I know what's going on.
Yeah, you do. You've got your finger on the pulse. But yeah, I mean, I think Zack Schneider is probably a bit of a parody of himself at this point. I'll do it all in CGI, and I'll do it all in slow motion. That's what people want. That's
Slow
what people
motion and
want.
dramatic music, Ben.
Yeah, with weird lighting effects that illuminate everything for split seconds. Look, he's been doing the same shtick since 300, Michael.
Yeah.
That's what we've got going on, and that's fine. I enjoyed 300 very much when I was a 15-year-old young man. Thought it was very entertaining. Have watched it since. Oops. I guess we could say.
I mean, no. I mean, what's the oops of 300?
It's just bizarre that
Yeah,
it
it's
got
bizarre.
made
It's
into a film.
It's a bizarre film.
just-
It's very bizarre. It's a bit misogynistic. It's a bit
Oh,
racist.
I think you're being a bit kind.
It's a little bit gross and horrible. But,
Yeah.
I mean, stylistically, it's wow. Wow, Ben.
Yeah, there's,
It's a turning point in cinema.
Yeah, sure. Turning point
I
for
mean-
six packs.
Yeah.
Don't
Fake
think
six packs.
I don't think the snake oil fitness industry would be what it is today without the crippling body comparison that comes with looking at Jared Butler's abs.
Yeah, well, Benjamin, it's about time it happened to men because women have been dealing with it since the 40s.
That a boy, Mick. I tell you, 300 might be a little bit misogynistic. You know what isn't? Bloody Mick's half of the Sean Rebuke podcast.
My half the show. Ben, 300 is the reason I have either, depending on the time of year, abs or debilitating body shame.
How do you get one half without the debilitating body shame? Can you write that to me
you
after
can't.
the show?
No, just keep watching 300, Ben. Keep watching 300 and crying. What are we doing? Benjamin! Speaking of televisual programs,
Yeah.
the audacity,
The chutzpah, Michael.
the sheer cojones, Ben, of the television series Marvel's WandaVision.
What in Christ's name are those lads at?
The audacity, Ben. Now,
Michael, the balls on them.
the balls on them, Ben. They've balls on them like brass monkeys. Benjamin, now, the name of this segment is The Audacity, but I would say that this episode was one of the less audacious ones.
Yeah, it's gone firmly into Marvel Cinematic Universe territory now.
Yeah. Now it's like a film.
Do you know how I knew that, Michael? From the very opening scene. Spoilers, by the way.
Spoilers for WandaVision.
WandaVision
The Audacity.
episode 8.
Yes.
The audacity.
The
The moment I realised that, Michael, was watching the Agatha Harkness trial scene, and all it was glowy blue lights and purple lights for
glowy
5
blue
minutes.
lights. Yeah.
And I was like, there it is. There's Kevin Feige.
and much cheaper sets.
There he is. Glowing purple lights in a dark room. There we go. Agatha Harkness just leans into it. Catherine Hahn's just like, I'm going to play a kitsch. I'm going to play a kitsch and sassy and...
Well, the interesting thing, Ben, for me about Agatha
Yeah.
is that although she's a little bit villainous, she's not the villain.
No, she's not. She's an interloper, Michael.
Yeah, she's an opportunist.
I think that made me much happier. I was really afraid at the end of episode 7 that they were going to make it all Agatha's plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that was going to kind of strip away some of the cool threat that Wanda represents to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But
Do you mean Wanda, Ben, or do you mean the Scarlet Witch?
Oh, dun, dun, dun.
Oh!
Have they really never said her name in the Marvel
Yeah, no,
Cinematic
they've never said her name. Remember, even a few episodes ago, Ben, they said, that's it, we just call her Wanda, no cool nickname, no colourful alter ego.
I didn't know that, Michael. I
Yeah,
had assumed it was said somewhere.
No, well, they never called Pietro Quicksilver either.
No, I suppose they didn't. I suppose
Because, allegedly, Ben, part of the Fox deal was that they didn't get the names.
Gas.
They got the characters and the powers, but not the names.
Gas.
Gas, absolutely gas.
Michael, that's one of the great disappointments of episode 8 for me, Michael. Is it's just a fake Pietro. There's no...
Well, Ben, is he? Like, he's out there, he has Monica.
It's true, he has Monica Rambeau.
He has Monica Rambeau. Ben, how are they going to wrap this up in 20 minutes?
They're not. They're gonna... They're not.
How?
I think we're gonna get a big teaser for whatever movie is next on the slate or whatever movie's coming close enough to it. Stephen Strange.
It's Doctor Strange, yeah. It's Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness.
But the big cameo that everyone's hinting at, Michael, it's Cumberbuns, isn't it? Like it's...
I don't know. I mean, people are saying that this big cameo that everyone's hinting at came from an interview with Paul Bettany, where Paul Bettany said, this is someone I've admired all my life. I was always wanted to work with them. We had great chemistry together. We had some amazing... It's him! He's talking about himself.
Oh, Paul Bettany.
He's doing a little joke.
It's very Paul Bettany of him.
Yeah, he's a kind of little funny British man who's married to Jennifer Connelly.
He is the love of his life, apparently, since he was but a wee lad.
Yes. Because she was a teen star, Ben, and he wasn't.
And he wasn't, but he became a male star, Michael. He became an adult star. Not
Benjamin.
that kind of adult star.
The biggest reveal of this episode is your favourite character in all of comics, White Vision.
Yes, he's pretty much the top of my what superhero do I want to see on screen list. White Vision.
White Vision. Benjamin. So I grew up, as you know, Benjamin, in the 1980s.
Yes.
And I believe that in the 1980s, that's when White Vision was in the comics.
He was.
Because the Vision that I grew up with, Ben, was White Vision.
What?
Exactly, Ben.
That's madness.
So when I saw this multicolored Vision in the comic books years later, I was like, who the hell is this guy?
What the fuck is this?
What is this guy? This is not Vision. Vision is kind of a pale, pasty, beige color.
And then you took to Twitter with the hashtag #NotMyVision.
Not my Vision. Yeah, hashtag whitewashing.
Oh fuck. Anyway.
Can we call them? Can we call them White Vision and Person of Colors Vision? Because he's many different colors.
It's better than ethnic vision.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't go there, Ben. That's not good. What's your step?
We're already too close. Michael, we got introduced to the concept very in our mid credits scene. We got introduced to Paul Bettany after falling into a vat of talcum powder.
Very good.
And what we got there, Michael, is a throwback to a 1989 introduction from John Byrne, who people
I know
know from the
Canadian.
X-Men, I guess.
Wolverine.
Yeah, people know him from the X-Men primarily, but he did quite a stint, Michael, on the West Coast Avengers.
No, the old WCA.
Yeah, the old WCA. So the West Coast Avengers was a little mixy-matchy sideline Avengers team. It had good old Hawkeye.
Oh yeah.
It had a Tigra.
Oh yeah, she's a sexy lady.
It had a Wonder Man, who is like
Oh, he's a sexy man.
Marvel's most popular superhero, Wonder Man.
Yes.
And it had a Scarlet Witch and a Vision.
I'm familiar with all of those characters.
I think I'm missing one or two. But anyway, what happens is, Michael, is very similar to the plot of WandaVision that we've been looking at. A coalition of secret services across the Marvel world join together and agree that Vision, as a sentient weapon, is just a big bloody nuclear bomb waiting to go off that can think for itself. And they're like, oh, I don't love that.
Good. Okay.
And so they dismantle him. Which isn't great. Not great, Michael. Not great. Wanda, this is kind of the beginning of the end for the Scarlet Witch in terms of sanity. This is the event that really kicks off her mental health spiral.
You're right. Which continues to this very day.
Which continues to this very day, Michael. She's still just a little bit not doing the best.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, why is it always female characters who that happens to? But I suppose there's also Legion. He's as mad as a box of bricks.
It's not quite in the same way, is it? Legion is mad as a box of bricks and all powerful and respected because of that, whereas Wanda is a hysterical woman in that run.
Not ideal. Suboptimal.
And the hysterical woman trope, Michael, goes all the way back to rich, wealthy Victorian businessmen who didn't like their wives much anymore, so they paid their doctor friend to write them a prescription for hysteria and got them locked in the attic.
Yeah. Now, having said that, Ben, I'm sure some of them were actually mad as well.
Oh, no, absolutely, Michael. But, you know, one madness does not a whole gender make.
Anyway, they disassembled Vision.
Michael. Scarlet Witch tracks him down. He gets reassembled. Hank Pym steps in, and Hank Pym is the original creator in the comic book universe. And he says, I'll fix him. I'll fix him. Don't worry about it. I'll sort it out. But Michael, there's a fascinating issue of consent in 1989's Vision Quest storyline, and that is that Wonder Man, Simon Harris.
No,
is it Simon Harris? No,
that's the Minister for Health, Ben. That's the Minister for Health, Simon Harris.
It's Simon something. I can't remember his name.
Simon Harris.
But anyway,
I can't think because that's so ridiculous. You spin your wheels there. I'll check here on my Marvel Encyclopedia.
So in the same way that the MCU universe, Michael, we all should, but I've thrown you off with Simon Harris. It's not your fault.
You carry on. I'll look up my encyclopedia.
Anyway, so in the same way that Bruce Banner, Tony Stark, and some other scientists use their brainwaves to map out Vision's personality in the MCU, Hank Pym used Wonder Man's Hank Pym used Simon Williams' brain patterns to program the original Vision, and he doesn't opt to allow it again.
Oh.
He won't give his memories the second time.
It's like, knock it off.
And
I'm not dead.
Scarlet Witch is like, oh yeah, big bloody prick.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it is my entire personality being given to somebody else. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, I'd be alright with that.
So there's a little bit. You would, Michael. You'd keep it in your closet with your vision boards, and you take it out occasionally when you wanted to bounce ideas off yourself.
Yeah, very good.
But yeah, so in that particular case, he won't be rebuilt, but his body is rebuilt, Michael. But then he's bloody an emotionless android with no memory of Wanda.
Oh no, I'd say she's very disappointed by that.
It's no good. It's heartbreaking for her, Michael. What follows on from there is Agatha Harkness turning up, Michael, telling her that her twins are fragments of Mephisto.
Oh,
And Michael, I read those issues. They are bizarre. There's a
Yes.
demon in hell that bonds the twins to his hands so he can wield the power of Mephisto. But they don't turn into hands. They are the upper body of two twins just morphed into his hands. Stuff
gross.
of nightmares, Michael.
gross and horrible.
Stuff of nightmares. Anyway, that's the kind of origin of White Vision, Michael. And just, there's an interesting period. Not until 1994, Michael, does he regain his multicolored costume and
5
persona.
years.
5 years, Michael, which is a long time in comic
Long
book
time in comics.
Michael.
Just in time for the video game Captain America and the Avengers to come out.
Almost perfectly timed,
Captain
Michael, to
America
give us a more
and the
colourful
Avengers.
Yeah, almost perfectly timed to give us a colourful kind of costume change
Benjamin,
option. Yeah.
and does White Vision have the same powers as normal Vision, or does he have a kind of special white power?
Not touching that one, Michael. You can.
Is he an out racist, Ben, is what I'm wondering. Is
You
he
asked
an
me,
out
does he have
racist?
white privilege? Yes, absolutely. In the sense of he's probably a more effective crime fighting machine without emotion and personality, in that he's very calculated and efficient in his task.
Like Robot Cop.
Like Robot Cop.
Yeah.
But poor Wanda's having a terrible time as her husband is walking around next to her and being like, I still don't know you, sorry.
Yeah, what's going on? Don't know.
Still no clue who you are. Sorry. And he doesn't react half as badly to losing the twins because he doesn't have any emotions.
He doesn't have any
So he's
emotions or
like-
memories.
So Agatha Harkness is like, they're demon babies. And he's like, oh, well, that's not good.
Yeah, we should probably kill them.
We should probably get rid of them. Why would
They're
we go to
demons.
hell to get them back, Wanda? Because they're our children, Viz. And he's like, yeah, but also demons.
Yeah. Now, Ben, I have a criticism of last week's episodes, and it was the introduction of a bit of retconning.
Yes, there was. Go on.
A bit of retconning, Ben, that she's been a mutant all along, Ben. Although they didn't say mutant, Ben. They said
No, they didn't.
witch. But
She's been a witch all along.
so she's a witch. She's been a witch all along, Ben. But she had a latent, some unexplained connection to magic, which would have died off if she hadn't received training.
Withered on the vine, as Agatha
Withered on the
Harkness
vine.
says.
But, Ben, the Mind Stone activated / heightened / released her powers rather than giving her powers.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it?
It is mad, but luckily I think it's well covered because they were the only two who survived. Mm-hmm. And they never explained a reason for that. And now they've given us one.
They're mutants.
Possibly. Both of them, possibly, or maybe just her, and she's also the reason that Pietro survived.
Yes.
Maybe.
Apparently she used a probability hex according to Agatha Harkness.
Yeah. So they're back, Ben. That's how she survived the Stark bomb.
It's pretty interesting, isn't it? Now, Michael, I'd like to telegraph my predictions for next week's episode purely
All right.
because we've been accused before of not telegraphing our things enough by one
Yeah.
guest star who made me feel like rubbish, Michael.
Yeah. Well,
Indeed.
look, that's easy enough, Ben. You're frail.
I am very paper-like.
Yeah, yeah.
It's true.
You sold your GME stocks.
I did, because I didn't ape like the rest of the
hashtag paper
like the
hands.
rest of the Look, anyway, Michael, obviously we're going to have a Vision versus Vision showdown.
I wouldn't say that's obvious.
We're going. Well, okay. Let me put it this way. It would seem, Michael, that when Wanda was being experimented on, the Mind Stone imbued itself or imbued her with a little bit of its own power. And I think that's kind of signified by we get to see just how powerful this illusion is that Wanda has created, or not an illusion.
No, it's not an illusion. She's altering reality. That's the interesting
She's altering
thing.
reality. And one of the interesting things about that, Michael, is that the director bloody framed her. First of all, she didn't take Vision's body.
Didn't take him at all.
Yeah, she gave it an L scan with her bloody witch powers, and she was like, "No, I can't feel you. You're not there." Okay.
Very sad.
Let's bloody make sense of that. But then she creates her own version, Michael. And we can see when that happens that he comes out in kind of a yellow light, which is attached to the Mind Stone.
Yeah.
So has she always carried the imprint of Vision within her because of her experience with the Mind Stone? Did the
Yeah.
Mind Stone brand the second time she tried to pull it out of his head for him?
Yeah. Has she recreated the Mind Stone, Ben, in this act? And therefore,
Yeah.
could she also create the other stones? Or are the stones, as opposed to what Thanos thought, not destroyable? Will they
Maybe
always
perhaps they
reform?
find somewhere to squirrel themselves away for a rainy day, Michael, until
Yeah,
another
exactly.
universe despot decides to bloody wipe out half the universe. One of the more interesting things, Michael, is the manifestation of vision within the big one that I have, Michael, is the manifestation of vision in Westview going to inhabit the body of White Vision by the end of this episode
Don't know.
thus lose the ability for emotional capacity and still give us a tragic ending for Wanda
Yeah.
and Vision?
Don't know, Ben. Don't know where it's going to go. And how are
That's
they
my
going to do it all in 20 minutes?
Yeah, because I, to be honest, 20 minutes of screen time and 40 minutes of credits, Michael, I might just flip my shit.
Yeah, it'd be too much. And Ben, how are they going to do all this and resolve the Pietro storyline and resolve the Agnes storyline and resolve the Monica storyline?
Mephisto.
You know, how are they going to? Anyway, Ben, look, Ben, what's going on Mars these days?
Mephisto.
Mephisto, yeah, exactly.
Michael, we got some big news, Michael. We got some big old news.
Yes, go
and
on.
that was that NASA's recent mission with a new rover, a new
Yeah.
Mars rover, was
Perseverance.
very, very successful. We're getting lots and lots of pictures of Mars. Well, not lots of pictures. We're getting a few pictures of Mars, Michael. And look, it's a big space rock, isn't it?
Big Space Rock, that's what it is, yeah.
It's a big space rock, Michael.
Yeah.
But that prompted you, Michael, in celebration of science and logic and, Victorian imperialism that you quite enjoy, Michael. You decided to do an episode dedicated to just how important is Mars in stories and stuff.
Yeah. And Ben, I think we've discovered over the last week of research, this is the most I think this is the most research I've ever done for an episode. Not
Might be.
because it just, first of all, it's a massive topic, Ben, much more massive than probably we were ready for.
Huge.
Ginormous, Ben. Ginormous. All you need to do is look up a Wikipedia article for Mars in fiction.
Yeah,
And-
you're gonna get lost.
Ben, you could do a weekly podcast on Mars in fiction for the rest of your life and not run out of material.
Yeah. So join us next week on our brand new podcast, Planet Bug, where we'll be taking a look at all things Mars.
And very interesting, Ben, because Mars is quite a small planet. And,
is
I
it?
see you've done a little joke there calling it Planet Bug, but it is half the diameter of Earth, Ben. So,
Is it?
Yeah, it's pretty small.
Why did I think Mars was bigger than us?
No, Mars is pretty small. It's a little small fella, Ben.
Gosh, I'm an awful dunce, Michael.
You're
God,
so behind the times on your Mars information, Ben.
how do you put up with me?
It's
How
a
do you do
long
it?
and trying process. So, Ben,
Yeah.
it's also, Ben, the surface area of Mars is approximately equal to the land area of Earth, believe it or not.
Oh, get out of town!
Yeah, because it doesn't have oceans, you see.
Oh, look at us!
Yeah.
Look at us!
So,
twins.
Benjamin-
landmass twins.
Exactly. So, Benjamin, because this could be an entire series of podcasts in itself, today we're going to be taking a look at Mars in fiction, but in very broad strokes.
Big old broad strokes, Michael.
Yes, like you having a wank with your big flat hands.
Again, Michael, this is probably why we should plan some of these jokes out.
I thought that was a good one, though.
That was-
Big flat hands.
That might
old,
be
old flat hands Colopy, they call you.
okay.
Hands wider
right.
than they are long.
Yeah, okay. And the really sad part is that I would ask you to edit it out, but I know you won't. So
I won't. No,
gonna
I'm going to
waste
leave it
my
in. I'm
breath.
going to leave it in. Big wide hands. Great at waving. Great at waving.
Yeah,
You'll
that was my
you'll make
first job.
You'll make
I
a
was
fine
a professional
pope.
waver.
Make a fine pope one day. Benjamin, so anyway, let's talk about Mars. So Ben, you tell us about the mythological Mars very quickly.
So Mars is the god of war in Roman mythology, Michael, and the planets, all the planets are named after the Roman.
Let's call
equivalent.
them the classical planets.
The classical planets, Michael, are named after the Roman pantheon, which
Right.
is loosely based on the Greek pantheon.
Yes.
Not loosely, closely based on the Greek pantheon with different names. And Mars is the god of war. He's a big old dickhead, Michael.
He's no use.
He's no use. He loves to stir the pot. He's the lad in the corner of the party who's sitting there going, "Do you know who Sharon slept with? Do you know who Sharon slept with? Tom. And do you know who Tom is dating? Sharon's sister. And do you know who doesn't know they slept together? Sharon's sister." He's the guy stirring the pot, Michael, in the corner because he just wants a little bit of conflict, wants a little bit of spice.
Yeah,
and he's
well-
no good, Michael. But that's what he's named after. Big old God of War.
And that's probably why, Ben, most of the early depictions of Mars in fiction were about warlike planets.
Yeah, it's very barbaric. Very barbaric, Michael.
They're always barbaric, aggressive, invaders, all of that bad shit.
It's not great, Michael. It's not great.
Bad
wouldn't-
planet.
You wouldn't want to be now, Michael, back in the day, listening to a radio broadcast and then you hear that Martians are attacking because you'd be like, oh no, they're bad eggs because they
Yeah,
come
not
from the
Mars.
God of War's planet.
Exactly. And Ben, apparently that's because of the red colour.
Because it's a big old aggressive red.
Yeah, like blood and
Makes a lot of sense.
yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't really, does it? Because they were ancient people looking at the sky and thinking that's probably a god, is it? I'd say it probably is it?
I still do that sometimes, Michael.
Yeah,
Like
do you
back
go, "Look at
garden
that?
and see something I can't explain. You'd be like, that might be a god.
That's probably a god, isn't it?
That's why I treat my dog so well. Because I go out in the back garden and look at things and think that's the worst joke I've ever made, Michael. So now we're both.
I'll tell you what, right? I'll leave that joke in, but then I'll also leave in the broad hands joke.
Oh, we're just in a race to the bottom, ladies and gentlemen. A
So the
race to the
listeners
bottom.
will now have heard both of those jokes, which should have been cut out, but we're leaving them in because they're one for one now bad jokes. So Benjamin,
Go on.
in the early days, in the pre-photography days, Ben, people used
Yeah.
to look at the planets and they used to look at them through telescopes.
Right.
And as telescopes got more and more powerful, people were starting to be able to see the planetary disk of Mars, and they could see it wasn't a star; it was a disk, it was a planet.
Yeah, okay. It was a big old thing.
A big old thing, but less than half the size of Earth, but a big old thing anyway. And they started to be able to, as telescopes got better and better, and as eyesight got better and better, that might not be true, they started to be able to resolve some of the details on Mars by giving it a good old looking at.
And they saw a
they
big
couldn't-
old sword and they were like, oh, it is a war planet.
It is a war planet. It's coming to get us. But there was one gentleman in particular, Ben. He was an Italian gentleman, so I'm going to pronounce his name in the Italian style. It was Giovanni Schiaparelli.
Nice.
And he spotted some lines on Mars, Ben, that you might be familiar with.
The lines of Mars.
Yeah, well, he was Italian, Ben, you see, and he saw them as channels. And as you know, Ben, being bilingual and speaking Italian, the Italian word for channels is canali.
Oh, very nice.
And when he announced to the world that he had discovered these canali on Mars, people got very excited because that sounds like canals.
Yeah, and I'd love to go to holiday on Mars down a canal. Be nice.
Get in a bloody gondola.
Yeah, Mars gondola.
Yeah,
A
a Mars
mandala.
gondola. Yeah, exactly. And people were very excited, Ben, to hear about these canals on Mars, and that's created the popular idea that Mars was a dying, dusty world whose last surviving inhabitants had built these irrigation channels covering the entire planet.
Big old aqueducts, Michael.
Can you tell me, Ben, a single depiction of Mars in fiction that isn't about Mars being a dying, dusty world where the people would prefer to go to Earth?
No.
That is
I can't.
so influential in Mars pop culture.
Yeah, it's
So-
been the defining thing. It's either a world on the brink, a world gone, or a world fallen to ruin through hubris.
And this discovery of the canals, which, Ben, are just geological features, they're not canals. But this discovery led to the whole concept of there might be a civilization there.
Yeah, and that's persisted for a bloody long time, Michael.
Well, it hasn't been. Because
Go on.
it gave us the first kind of wave of Martian pop culture.
Big
And
old wave.
the first wave was kind of two-pronged, like a two-pronged fork, or a two-tined fork, Ben, or a bident. It was, one, invaders coming from this dusty, dying planet to get us.
Yeah, they want our stuff.
They want our stuff. They're coming to get our stuff. And
Yeah.
two, what would life be like on that barbaric, dusty, canal-ridden planet?
That was David Bowie's central question in life.
Is there life on Mars?
That was
Yeah.
actually surprisingly decent.
No, it wasn't. It was awful. Benjamin, so one of the earliest, probably the earliest exploration of is there such a thing as an advanced alien civilization and is it on Mars was the classic invasion of the Mars is coming. What's that called?
It's called
War
oh
of
no
the Worlds.
War of the Worlds. There we go.
Yes.
It went out of my brain because you
By-
made me think about it and I panicked.
By H.G. Wells, Ben. Have you read
Yeah.
it? Have you seen it?
I have, and on both counts, Michael. I studied it at university.
on.
Fascinating little ditty, Michael. The Martians are a bunch of resource hogs, and they're coming here to harvest us up, Michael, and use us for their weird plant crops. It's a whole thing. It's pretty interesting from a H.G. Wells point of view. It's not your traditional, we've come to take over your planet. Why? Because we want to take it over. It's not like that at all. They're resource farming. They're here to get a little bit of ishka. They're here to get a little bit of fertilizer for the crops.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. They're sucking up resources. And now, Michael, that you've told me about the canals of Mars,
Yeah.
that makes an awful lot of sense to me. I'm like,
Because
oh,
Ben, they were on their dying planet with their super advanced brains, going, "Oh, let's look at the Earth with our envious eyes."
yeah, they got big old envious eyes, Michael.
Yeah,
That's a big one.
exactly, Ben.
Um,
And you know, it was from those early days of Mars observing with the first kind of powerful enough telescopes to see features that nearly everything in that era of fiction stems from. For example, Ben, another astronomer, not our pal Giovanni, he reported seeing a flash of light on Mars.
Oh, what?
Almost certainly didn't happen. You know, equipment malfunction, tired, maybe he was a bit drunk. But that
Laudanum.
report of a flash of light on Mars is what inspires the opening of the novel The War of the Worlds, where the astronomer Ogilvy
Oh, yeah, I can never get it right.
sees 10 days of strange green flashes on Mars.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, what's this?
Yeah, well, and then he says, Ben, the chances of anything coming from Mars are 1,000,000 to 1.
Well, guess
But
what?
still, they come.
Well, guess what?
Yeah, they come.
Yeah, so Michael, you've put yourself through a strange and wicked punishment. Do you want to explain to the listeners what that was about there?
That was it wasn't a strange and wicked punishment, Ben. The War of the Worlds, the musical rock opera of The War of the Worlds by Jeff Wayne, is my favorite piece of musical literature mashup. It's not a musical per se. It's a rock
Okay.
opera, Ben, and
Okay.
it is brilliant. And I listen to it once a year. There was an original version with Richard Burton, who you
Yes.
might be familiar with.
Yeah.
And he was very good. And then they remade it with Liam Neeson, who you might also be familiar with.
What?
And they are both brilliant interpretations of the story. They're not the book flat out, they are adaptations.
Okay.
But Ben, if you haven't cried at the death of an ironclad battleship, then you haven't lived.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a song in it called Thunderchild, Ben, about the HMS Thunderchild,
Oh, yeah.
which is a British ironclad that in the book attacks the Martians in the channel, the British channel, the
That
French
wasn't very
channel,
smart,
whatever
was
it's
it?
called. But in the musical theater, it attacks them in a river, I think, and tries to, it attacks 5 tripods to buy time for survivors to get away.
Great.
And there's this hugely triumphant song about here comes the Thunderchild, look at its guns, it's going to win, and then it loses, and it's the saddest piece of fiction you'll ever hear.
Oh, I'll have to give that a listen. Does Liam
look it
Neeson
up.
sing it?
No.
Oh. Who
It would
sings
be
it?
great if you did. I don't know actually who sings it. I
okay.
should have checked that. It's very
I'll
good
have to
though.
find that out.
Ben, do you have any other Martian stories to talk about from that era of Martian?
Well, it's interesting, Michael, that you mentioned some bloody barbarity, Michael.
Yeah,
Because a
go
little
on.
while after that, Edgar Rice Burroughs, famous for Tarzan fame, Michael,
Yeah.
was like, do you know what? Mars, war, yeah, I can work with that. What if Mars was once a great planet that was unified and everybody got on just grand? But what if something horrible happened and they lost all their resources and they splintered through ideological and political divides and ended
Yeah.
up in different factions and we're always having a go at each other?
Yeah.
And then what if
Yeah. Yeah.
a bloody hang on,
A civilized Earthman.
what if a civilized Earthman who fought for the Confederacy
Yeah.
decided to come up from Virginia, and that won't be awkward in about
No.
100 years.
Yeah.
That won't rub people the wrong way. We won't make a movie out of that with Taylor Kitsch and have it weirdly glossed over, even though it's a fairly central point in the book where he goes on about his Confederate code of honor all the time. But they do that, Michael. That's what they do.
That's what they do, man.
Yeah, so this is, of course, John Carter of Mars. Yes. John Carter, the Confederate,
Yes.
discovers in a Native American cave.
Ben,
Go on.
do you think if he was alive today, he would have been very excited about the latest episode of WandaVision? And Vision's new white powers?
He probably follows Gina Carano on Twitter. He's alive today.
I don't think Gina Carano's a racist. Let's get that out there.
I know.
do not think she's a racist.
I know, but John Carter probably thinks she's a strong woman with good values.
He'd probably try to marry her. Take her over
He'd
Mars.
probably marry her when he gets done with Deja Taurus. So this is kind of the trope that launched 1,000 ships, Michael. I would argue that Star Wars, Jabba the Hutt cycle, Slave Leia, heavily inspired by John Carter of Mars. The idea of a desert planet with warring factions and things like that, and a big old bikini-clad kind of heroine.
Yeah. Of course, in
so
the book,
yeah.
then, she's in the nude.
She's in the nip, Michael.
Yeah.
She's in the nip.
Totally in the nip.
And because Martians don't see a need for clothes, why would you be wearing kit?
Yeah.
Why would you be wearing kit?
It's
Why would
very
you do it?
cold there. So maybe
It
that's
depends
why.
on which part of the planet you go to, Michael. Some of it's a desert. Almost
Yeah.
all of it's a big warm desert.
No, it's not warm. It's still cold. Mars is cold, Ben.
Yeah, in real life, but not in John Carter of Mars, Michael.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
It's
you
fiction
see, it's a
and
big
reality
old,
again.
dusty dust bowl. See, people see dust, Michael, and they're like, "Oh, desert, hot,
It's warm. Yeah.
hot." And people like Edgar Rice Burroughs, Michael, may not have done a mountain of research into the actual
very
climate of Mars.
Well, then he couldn't have been. They didn't know back then.
Well, they knew they had some really nice canals, Michael.
Did they even at that stage? Was EOB before or after?
I think he might have been. I think they're. I'm almost certain H.G. Wells is first, but I'm going to check that.
Okay.
They could be contemporaries. Hang on. Let me
Okay.
see, Michael. So you spin your wheels, because we've covered John Carter before. It is, in fact, the favourite film of one at Podcast Wanker.
It is. He loves it.
And yeah, you spin your wheels there for a second.
Yeah. So yeah, the whole thing, Ben, those canals, they turned out to be not real. They didn't even exist, right?
Aww.
Yeah, optical illusion essentially, Ben. Maybe of the human eyeball or of the imaging telescopes of the time. So the next kind of great leap in Martian depictions in pop culture came in the 1960s.
The 60s.
The 1960s, and something really revolutionary happened in the 1960s, Ben. And what happened was Mariner 4, or as you call it, Mariner 4, reached Mars.
I would call it Mariner 4.
You would say Mariner 4 reached Mars. And when Mariner 4 reached Mars, Ben, it took some photos. And
Okay.
it saw that not only were there no canals,
Oh, man.
but also there were no structures whatsoever. It was a flat, lifeless, red, dusty desert covering the entire planet.
Was it warm?
No, Ben, cold, very cold.
Okay, so it's been cold since around the 1960s then.
Let's go with that. Yeah, let's go with
Okay.
that because I don't want to explain it anymore. And it
Okay.
has been a very tenuous and dusty atmosphere. And, you couldn't live outside on Mars. And to us, Ben, these days, that all seems so obvious.
Yeah.
But in the 60s, that was they were the first ever images sent back from deep space of another planet.
Yeah, big deal.
And to see that Mars was essentially like a red version of the moon. Like it did have a bit of an atmosphere.
What a
but,
big deal.
yeah. Like actual images of Mars came back, Ben. And we discovered that, for example, the planet wasn't covered in dense red vegetation as H.G. Wells had speculated.
Yes, that we needed blood for.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't covered in canals and structures of some ancient or long dead civilization. It was just a dusty dust bowl.
Yeah, just a big old duster.
Exactly, Ben. And that's when the Mars narrative started to switch from ancient dusty civilizations on Mars who might be coming to get us, to what will it be like in the future when we get to Mars?
Elon Musk's wet dream, yes.
Exactly, Ben.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, the entire narrative of Mars then changes to what is it going to be like when humans get there? How are we going to colonize it? What technology are we going to use to colonize it? What will life and civilization be like on Mars?
Jetpacks.
Jetpacks, Ben, bubble domes.
Oh, yeah.
Full body spacesuits so you can go and walk outside. And very interestingly, this is when the stories start where people start seeing a parallel to the USA. So Mars starts
Because it's a big war planet, is it?
Yeah. Ooh. That's when Mars starts bombing Syria. No, wait, sorry. Not Syria. Iranian-backed facilities in Syria. That's a very important distinction. So, anyway, welcome to Michael and Benjamin's Blacklisted Political Podcast.
Wokecast.
So Benjamin, that's when Mars starts filling in for the US in fiction. And people see it as it's going to happen what happened with the US and Europe. So Earthers, people from Earth are going to go to Mars, and it's going to spend a couple of generations as a wild, wild west.
Fair.
And then, as it develops its own culture and personality, there will almost inevitably be a resistance or rebellion movement, and then a war for independence, and then the establishment of Mars as a new superpower.
Yeah.
And that trope is everywhere in Mars fiction post the 60s, post the there's nothing there discovery.
Yeah, because we had to fill it up with new stuff.
Exactly, and the new stuff we chose to fill it up with was us.
Yeah, how disappointing.
I know.
I'm always disappointed when humans are the
it was humans all along. I knew it was humans.
So that kind of became a big thing, Michael. There was a really interesting article published in response to the new rover landing by a futurologist. He's like, it's really strange that the 60s image of Mars...
Did you say futurologist?
Yeah, you know that bullshit profession that they write...
Is that not futurist?
Is it a futurist? I'm going to call him a futurologist.
A futurologist sounds like they would both do that and mix cocktails.
They do.
And he'd be like, I'm making you a margarita, but you know, in 100 years, a fucking robot will be doing this.
He's chronically depressed because he's very aware of how obsolete his profession is.
Exactly.
I think we should write a comic about a depressed futurologist.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Anyway, Michael, he wrote a really interesting article on how Mars is not, doable as a habitable planet.
No, it sucks, Ben.
It sucks, and he's like, it's really interesting that people like Elon Musk keep going on about how he's going to send people to Mars, and he's like, to do what?
Yeah,
what
why?
are you going to do on Mars?
Yeah.
There's nothing to do. There's nothing to be saved. There's nothing to be... No PlayStation, Michael.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. But that's where that comes from in the 60s. I did not know that, Michael. That's very interesting. And now that you've highlighted it, it's hard not to see everywhere.
Like, Ben, this isn't going to be good content, but I'm just going to give you a list. Off the top of my head, I'm not reading this from Wikipedia or anything.
Go on.
But of things where the story is humans living in their mad bubbles on Mars and the trials and tribulations of that.
The Jetsons.
Total Recall, Ben.
Yeah!
Total Recall is a classic Mars. So, it's a Wild West situation, but they're starting to strive for independence.
Yeah, so that's even interesting in another point of view, because that has kind of an Australia penal colony narrative to it as well, doesn't it? All the kind of dregs of society get sent up to Mars. That's where they get to go.
It's a kind of lawless frontier.
Yeah, Blade Runner as well, Michael, of course.
Blade Runner as well, yeah. So many Martians. So the interesting one for me, Ben, was the 2001 film, John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars.
Michael, now this is niche Mars content, because this is where the 80s trope brought on by Doom manifests itself and combines with other things. So we have demons on Mars, which becomes a bizarre trope that sticks around for quite a bit, and we'll get to that in a second. And
hold on, I'm going to cut across you. Sorry. They're not demons though; they're aliens, and that's kind of the next step. The next step in Mars literature is okay, there's nothing on Mars, so we go to Mars. We colonize Mars. Oh shit, there was something on Mars.
Oh, never mind.
We were wrong the whole time. But sorry, go on. John Carpenter, Ghost of Mars.
But yeah, so Ghost of Mars is that perfect kind of fusion of everything we've just talked about, Michael, because it's like a prison planet,
yeah.
you know, with frontier elements like a mine and things
Yeah.
like that. People are trying to
Trains.
do little trains. Oh, trains.
LL Cool J. No,
LL
Ice Cube.
It's Ice Cube. So, Michael,
Ice Cube.
my favorite thing about Ghost of Mars is that they have a fairly decent, like, who's who cast at the beginning.
Amazing.
Like,
Amazing.
They have Ice Cube,
Yeah.
who is arguably one of the biggest. You know, he was one of the biggest names. Especially, you know, he's become a relatively popular actor.
He
in his
has,
time.
Ben. But I would argue that he is not good in this.
No, he's not. None of them are. That's the most interesting part. Jason Statham still has hair.
You're kind of. Your favorite actor and mine, Ben, Jason Statesman. He kind of has hair.
Yeah, he uses Keeps, today's sponsor for the episode.
They had a 90s prototype Charlize Theron, Natasha Henstridge.
So they have like a who's who of late 90s action people.
Yeah.
And they all phone it in.
Well, okay, hold on a second. Are you aware of the background of this?
So John Carpenter, noted cult horror sensation John Carpenter, I think this is kind of his vanity project, isn't it, Michael? Where he kind of cannibalizes his own filmography.
Right, exactly. No, not really. This, Ben, the great twist of this film is it was supposed to be Snake Plissken 3.
Oh yeah.
So
Escape
it
from
was
Mars.
supposed to be Escape from Mars. And the studio said, no, we're not having any more Snake Plissken. Get rid of him. Replace Snake Plissken with Desolation Jones.
Desolation Williams, I think you'll find.
Is it Desolation Williams? One of the best names of all time. They cast young Jason Statesman as Desolation Williams.
No.
And then the studio insisted on replacing him with up-and-coming rap superstar Ice Cube.
That's brilliant.
And they didn't sack Jason Statesman. They wrote him a new character.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's an incredible film. But one of the best things about it is the setting of... When I watched this, Ben, I think I might have misunderstood it. I thought it was set in 2024.
Okay.
But Wikipedia says 2240. But I'm
Okay.
pretty sure it's 2024. Either way, a bit ambitious, I think. Because
Yeah.
they've pretty much terraformed Mars.
Yeah, they're walking around with no suits, Michael.
Yeah, walking around with no suits, walking around in the atmosphere. And this one is pure 100%. This could have been a Western.
Yeah.
This is Mars filling in for the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, we'll use Mars and we'll make it a bit spooky.
Yeah, but I mean, there are plenty of Wild Wild West ghost stories. This is a story about a haunted mine
Yeah.
in the Wild Wild West,
Yeah.
transferred to Mars.
There's an
And
outlaw.
Weird throwaway. Yeah, there's an outlaw. There's
the
a
marshals.
sheriff. Yeah, it's
It's mad.
there's a train. There's a ghost train.
310 to
there's-
Yuma.
Yeah, it's
The whole
a
thing.
ghost train. This is a ghost train film, which happens for some reason on Mars in a very poorly explored matriarchy.
Yeah.
So Martian culture is starting to diverge from Earth culture in this movie.
Yeah, matriarchy. Pam Grier.
They have a matriarchy. Lesbianism seems to be the norm.
Yeah, good
And
stuff.
the kind of disrespecting of men, except sexy Jason Statesman, who, in one of the best moments of the film, hounds Charlize Theron relentlessly to have sex with him. And then pulls the ultimate creeper move of leading her into a back room and closing the door behind him. And she just goes, yeah, all right, then come on.
Quickly now.
What a terrible message. But
Yeah.
but it does follow that trope, Ben, of the other kind of Mars trope of, but there was stuff there the whole time and we've let it out of this small and cheap box.
Yeah, it's like two different movies happening at the same time. Like there's the haunted element of it, the Native American Indian burial ground
Yeah.
angle of traditional American horror, and then there's the weird cop sci-fi film that's happening at the same time. All of which culminates, Michael, in that kind of gauntlet run where Ice Cube hefts 2 Uzis and says, "We're doing what we should have done from the beginning," and he runs. And he takes on an entire mining village.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Just charging down the middle, just swinging the Uzis around. And, oh, man. There are some amazing jump cuts, Michael, where Jason Statham is asked for a grenade. He says, "Grenade!" And he throws it. There's a pause in the cut. So it just hangs in blackness for half a second.
Is there any chance you've watched this on YouTube?
Yes.
Yes, there's a butchered edit of this on
Oh,
YouTube.
damn it.
Which does that to avoid being copyright struck.
Damn it, never mind.
Yeah, no, there is a much better cut. The actual film is actually very well edited and very well put
All
together.
right, never mind then.
And the action scenes are great, and it goes along with the beats of the unnecessary hard rock background music.
Yeah, I've watched a butchered cut.
Yeah, potentially you've watched a butchered cut. But yeah, it's weird. It's a weird film, but I quite enjoyed it, to be honest with you. There are the horror elements of it. The mutilation and the body swapping are very Pinhead. They all end up looking like Cenobites.
Yeah,
They all look a bit Clive Barker by the end.
It's very odd. The Big Daddy character, I think, is it Big Daddy? What's his name?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I don't
Something
think
Daddy.
Get a name?
So no, it's something Daddy. It's weird, but he's like Gene Simmons and Pinhead had a baby, and then
a huge muscular baby.
But they made such an interesting choice, Michael, that you can't understand a word out of his mouth. They give him dialogue, but he has these big fake teeth like lodged in his mouth, so all you hear is rah rah rah.
Yeah, but
And
he's speaking ancient Martian. My favorite character, Ben, is the lady who's made a bra out of two persons' 2 severed hands. That is absolutely brilliant. Anyway, look, I watched another film from this era, Ben.
Go on.
I watched 2000's Mission to Mars. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
2000's Mission to Mars, Ben, stars your favorite actor and mine, Gary Sinuses.
Oh, nice.
And a comically young not Gina Carano, what's the name? Don Cheadle.
No.
A comically young Don Cheadle, and Tim Robbins. And they are doing the first ever manned mission to Mars.
Get out of town.
And this film is by your favorite director, Ben, Brian De Palma.
Oh, I love Brian De Palma.
You love him. You're mad for Brian De Palma. It's good. It's a good film, but it's so tonally all over the place. It's bizarre. It is from the beginning of the modern period of Mars stuff.
Okay.
So it's about our first attempt to get to Mars.
Okay.
And then bizarrely doesn't show it. So we have a party. We have a party where, you know, all of the characters are talking about this mission to Mars and how they've been working their whole life to it. Then a jump cut and Don Cheadle's on Mars.
What?
Yeah, it's weird. It's absolutely bizarre.
That is weird. I feel like the cutting room floor has a lot of footage.
Yeah. Well, because Ben, Don Cheadle's character has to have a disaster on Mars, you see. They accidentally trigger some sort of horrible monstrosity.
Oh, not a
And then
monstrosity, Michael.
Exactly, Ben. And then the other characters have to get to Mars to rescue Don Cheadle.
This is The Martian with more sci-fi elements. Matt Damon
And
played this
that-
film without the monster a couple
That
of years
is the
later.
absolute mad thing about this, because it's a sandstorm that kills them, and he's the only survivor, and he buries the survivors, and they're like looking from the satellites, and they're seeing like there's activity, so we know he's alive. They make
Amazing.
graves. But the really bizarre thing about it is, spoilers obviously for Mission to Mars here. They rescue Don Cheadle. They go into the greenhouse where he's managed to grow food for himself for a year.
Oh, yeah.
And they go in and they find this disheveled Don Cheadle, and he's got big bushy hair and a big bushy beard.
A
And he
big
attacks
bushy beard.
A great big bushy beard. Like me, No, it's not Brian Blessed.
Not
Who says
Brian
that?
Blessed.
It's from that film,
Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz. So they go in and they restrain him and they calm him down.
That's good.
And then they say, has he gone mad? Has he gone mad from some sort of brain asphyxia, Natasha Henstridge? And she goes, I'm not Natasha Henstridge, I'm Connie Nielsen, Mick. You've watched these two films too closely together and you've got mixed up. But has Don Cheadle gone mad? And they go, well, maybe he hasn't gone mad. Maybe this is just a normal reaction to someone who spends an entire year alone on Mars desperately trying to survive. Then in the next scene, he's had a shave and a haircut and he's grand.
Oh, good. It's just
And the whole
grooming
time
habits that keep sanity intact.
The whole time you're watching, you're thinking, well, that would have been an interesting film. That would have been a very interesting film that I would like to have seen.
Trying to restore the humanity of Don Cheadle in space.
No! Don Cheadle surviving on his own in space for a year.
Oh,
on
you
Mars.
mean they cut again?
Well, we never see Don Cheadle surviving on his own in Mars.
What?
It's bizarre. So, anyway, Ben, the whole thing turns out to be... Have you ever seen The Face on Mars, Ben?
No. No, I
The
haven't.
famous image sent back from satellites of
hang on.
a face-like object on Mars.
I should look it up.
Look it up, Ben. It's a very famous image. And once again, exactly like the Canali from the late 1800s, turned out to be an optical illusion.
Yeah, classic.
Classic. But in this, Ben, the face on Mars is a vast ancient alien structure.
That's the face on Mars. Oh, look at
Yeah. You see it?
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
there it is.
It's the same thing again. It's the same kind of steps in Mars in pop culture. People see something on Mars, some images come back, and people start to speculate about it and write science fiction.
Yeah,
It's a
because
much-
that's what they do. They take a little grain of inspiration and be like, what if there was a giant face on Mars? What would that be like?
Yeah. Yeah, what would that be like? And what would happen? And would we meet the Martians? And would they look like cheap CGI from the 1990s?
Don Cheadle would go mad,
Probably.
tell you that much.
Probably. Benjamin, are there any films about John Cheadle's experience on Mars that are good?
Yeah, there's The Martian with Matt Damon. Matt Damon, famously, Michael, did his method acting after the film, where he decided to practice extreme isolation. He stuck himself in Dalkey here in Dublin for a year.
Very good.
And that was a controversial move, but it seemed to have paid off because that film features Matt Damon in a role that is absolutely charming, Michael, to a level where I would not have thought possible from Matt Damon. He's very intensely likable.
Isn't that the whole shtick of Matt Damon?
Is it?
Yeah, I
I
think
wouldn't
so.
have thought so.
No, I think it is.
He's never struck me as a very likable, charismatic man. He struck me as a perfectly excellent, serviceable actor who's able to deliver certain roles, but always slightly... Speaking of Matt Damon, do you know what I found out today, Michael? Sorry, this is apropos of nothing, and it's completely derailing the conversation. Dogma, the film with Kevin Smith starring Ben Affleck and Matt Damon as angels...
Yeah.
is
I'll say
no longer produced in
Yes.
physical copy format or available on any streaming service.
Yeah, the only way to get Dogma is to have a DVD copy like I do.
I
or
do
to
as
download
well.
it illegally.
Maybe they'll be worth money someday. Probably not, but you know, that'd be mad. Anyway, sorry. Matt Damon plays an astronaut on the first manned mission to Mars. The first attempt to live on Mars, is it? Is that what it is? I can't remember.
Well, I can't remember exactly why they're there, but it's, early Mars colonization efforts or experiments.
Similar
And then there's
idea.
a bloody sandstorm.
And then I guess it's like Castaway in space, and Tom Hanks was a bit old and didn't want to do another space movie. But yeah, so it's that kind of idea. And then we get to see like very charming montages of him slowly going. It's like Movie Mad, where he talks to himself sometimes. You're like, oh, he's slipping. It's not like, oh, this is uncomfortable. This is a man lost in his own mind. There's potato jokes. There's Vicodin jokes. Sometimes he mixes potatoes with Vicodin.
Hilarious.
And it's an oddly enjoyable film, despite the fact that you would think that's very boring. And maybe that's what inspired Brian De Palma to cut that out.
Or maybe never even filmed it.
Or maybe never even filmed it. We'll never know, Michael.
Yeah, we just saw the end result of it with Don Cheadle. I would have loved to see Don Cheadle
That's
doing
so interesting.
The Martian 20 years earlier.
That's so interesting.
Benjamin, we have barely even touched on what happens when Mars breaks away and becomes its own civilization.
Oh, that's a whole trope in itself,
It's
Michael.
a whole
And
trope in itself.
what a trope it is.
I mean, you've got The Expanse.
Oh, The Expanse, Michael. What a show.
Ben, do you remember the UN? Are you in season 5 of?
No,
The
don't
Expanse yet?
spoil. No spoilers.
I
I'll
won't
take my
spoil
earphones
anything.
out and you can have a chat there quickly.
No,
if you
no,
want.
it's fine. It's fine. I won't say
Okay,
anything.
no
But
spoilers.
there's an actor in common between The Expanse and Mission to Mars.
Oh, excellent.
In just a small role, but it's funny. we haven't talked about what happens when Mars breaks away and becomes its own independent civilization. The Expanse, that's a massive driving plot point of The Expanse. It's a huge part of the Warhammer lore.
Yeah.
The separation and later reunification of Earth and Mars. Like it's ripe, Ben, for storytelling picking.
Gold, Michael.
But look, we're already well over an hour today.
Gold. We're over an hour, Michael, so we're going to have to hold off. But we will be doing a Mars Part 2. Planet Biogadou. We'll definitely be having a little bit of that, Michael. And that'll be awfully good.
Yeah, we can do it in March.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Oh, yeah, because that's... Oh, look at you. Look at you.
Well, Ben,
Look at you,
tomorrow's the
content
1st of March.
man.
This episode comes out on the 1st of March.
Yes! Yes!
We've done it.
Well, let's do it now, Michael, and let's say that the final episode of March will be Mars Part 2 then. Just
All right, then,
to
okay.
hold ourselves accountable, Michael, because we often
to
plan
Mars.
Part 2s, and we never bloody get around to them.
All right, okay,
Um,
we'll do more Mars.
So what would you like to hear talked about in Mars Episode 2? Ladies and gentlemen, you can get in touch with us in lots of different ways. You can find us on the interwebs at www.seomrabeag.com, SEOMRABEAG.com.
Means tidy room in Irish.
Does indeed. You can find us on bloody Instagram, where we post lots of interesting little content and tidbits and explainers for different pop culture phenomena. That's Sean Rebuke as well, same spelling.
Same meaning.
Yeah, nice. And then, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to join us next week, we'll be talking about what's the deal with
What's going on?
sidekicks?
Who needs them?
Who needs them? Sidekicks. What are they good for? I think we just found the name for the episode this week. That's handy.
Very good.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what we'll be taking a look at next week. So send us in your favourite sidekicks. What you think they add to a storyline.
Yeah.
And send us in, more importantly, your least favourite sidekicks and what you think they took away from a character. That's what I want to know.
Send them in.
So please send them in to us, and we'll have a chat about them next week. That's it from us this week, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all look after yourself now. Bye-bye.
The chances of anything coming from Mars were 1,000,000 to 1. But still, they come.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Liam Neeson, eat your heart out.
He doesn't sing that bit.